You're listening to Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. Our show provides listeners with an insider perspective of Texas A&M athletics and its greatest supporters. This podcast will bring you exclusive interviews with coaches, athletes, donors, and the dedicated staff of Aggie Athletics and the 12th Man Foundation. You ready? Let's dive into today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Answering the Call. This is your host, Ivy Robinson, and today I am in studio with Texas A&M basketball forward Henry Coleman III. Thanks for being here and coming on the show, Henry.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Henry, to begin, can you just tell our listeners about your background and upbringing? Because I know you're from Virginia. Can you start there?
Yeah, so born and raised in Richmond, Virginia. Been there all my life. Went to a variety of elementary school, middle schools, and then ended up for high school at Trinity Episcopal School. And so really enjoyed my time through that. I think Trinity Episcopal School kind of helped shape me into who I am today. Many of the teachers there, headmaster Rob Short, and then basketball coach Rick Hamlin. There was a lot of just a big opening for life. It wasn't really much of the basketball part. Coach Hamlin wasn't the best X's and O's coach, but he was the best of leading men. And so I think, that kind of shaped me who I am today. And just being around the school, how open they are about following your own path. That's their motto, discover your own path. And so I was allowed to do many of things at the school and being in a lot of clubs and stuff. And so for me, I think that kind of helped me into who I am today. But just growing up in Richmond, it's Richmond, Virginia. It's not the biggest place in the world. There's enough people there, but we get 4 seasons over there.
Actually get a fall?
Yeah, we get a real fall. The leaves actually turn color. In October, it starts getting a little chilly in the air, and it's beautiful. And so not being too far from the mountains, not being too far from the water, I think Richmond is beautifully located. And, I spent a lot of time there and can't wait to get back there soon, hopefully.
That's incredible. I've never been to Richmond. I'd like to go sometime. You mentioned your high school. You were involved in some clubs and organizations. Obviously, you played basketball in high school. Tell me about what you did outside of basketball or outside of sports.
Yeah, there are 2 things that I really take it. The first being, it's a funny story. Me and one of my buddies, Burke Smith, who actually went on to play at Boise State, we were looking for an elective. We had no idea. I'd already taken art, already taken music. So we came across a class called technical theater. So we actually helped build the sets of when there were plays. And so I think for me, that just allowed me to be better hands-on, meet different people, get to talk to people, see some of the plays and stuff. And so for me, I thought that was, really eye-opening. I kind of pushed myself going on a limb. And it's one of the best classes I've ever taken. It wasn't you were all in the books, but you were just really hands-on and you were able to kind of use and have things for the future. A lot of people nowadays don't know how to build a table and stuff like that. So just to have those essential things actually helped me. And so the second point being, I actually served as the school president my last year in the school. And so for me, that just allowed me to be, a great orator, somebody who's able to talk in front of people about various things. We went in, we had morning meeting, you had to talk in front of the school. And so for me, that just allowed me to gain confidence in speaking to, 10 people, 100 people, 500 people. It just allowed me to kind of open up and get many reps of talking in front of people, saying the right things, and going about it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to technical theater. Is there a favorite set you helped build?
There really wasn't. I think just us all being together and me challenging myself to kind of go on a limb and take something that I've never thought about taking before. The thought never came to my mind when I was going into high school. So I wanted to play basketball. Mm-hmm. And so for me to take technical theater for 2 years and be able to work with different people and branch out and see, something that I've worked on truly and wanted to be a part of, I thought it was awesome, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Do you think the school really encouraged that mindset to try and get involved in different things, or did your family also encourage you?
I think, it's both. I think, my parents, they were always encouraging me to try different things, try different food, try different shows, try different movies, sports, And so for me, I was just always open to just trying new things. And so when I got to high school, having, my parents' background and my background of trying new things, and then to go to a school like Trinity and their motto being discover your path, it truly embodies what I wanted to be as a person. I thought, like I said, having my parents and then having the school, I was able to kind of blossom and discover my path and discover what I like to do, what I didn't like to do. And so I think for me, that was just awesome and kind of shaped me into who I am today.
Let's go back to basketball. Do you remember the first moment you picked up a basketball and started playing?
Oh, it was probably around late elementary school. For me, I started playing baseball and basketball relatively around the same time. And so, I really didn't have a love for either of them like that much. I knew I wanted to play both of them. I think it was really in middle school where I was like, well, I kind of really want to pursue basketball. So I talked to my dad, and he was like, well, if you're going to pursue it, you got to go. You can't half do it. You got to go full force. And so for me, I think, having the talk with him and then the encouragement from, all my other people in my family, my younger brother, and even my mom and aunt, they just kind of pushed me to pursue it. And they were like, if you're going to do it, you have to do it, the right way. You have to go full force into it. You don't want to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so for me, I think middle school is really the pivotal point where I was like, I want to pursue basketball.
So at what point in high school did you realize college basketball might be a reality for you?
I think it was around my freshman year, and I started getting some offers and stuff. That summer, actually my 8th grade summer going into my freshman year, started getting some offers, started playing a lot more travel basketball, playing on some elite teams and stuff. And so for me, it actually became a little bit more stressful because now it's like, well, everybody wants to get an offer, everybody wants to be recruited by colleges, but then you have to make a decision coming up that like this impacts your family, impacts yourself. And so I think a lot of guys, when I talk to my brother and some of his younger friends, I'm like, when you make a decision to go to college, you're making a decision hopefully for 40, 50 years. You're not making a 4-year decision. And so I think that goes a lot into why I chose Duke and then decided to come to Texas A&M, because you're making a decision that's going to not only impact yourself, but impact your kids one day, impact your family. And so for me, knowing that when I got those offers my freshman year, it was a great sense of gratitude. And, I was just like, yeah, I'm thankful. But now it's another added level of stress that you have to choose the right place. You have to choose, the right coach, the right people that you want to be around. And so, I thought I did that the right way. I didn't always do it the best way, but I think, where I've ended up is just a testament to my family and the people that I've surrounded myself with.
Speaking of your family, did anyone in your family play college or professional sports?
Yeah, my dad played football for Virginia Tech. He went on to play for Detroit Lions for a little bit and kind of bounced around the NFL. But, his experience at Virginia Tech under Coach Beamer and Coach Bud Foster, his experience kind of helped my experience. He was able to kind of give me advice on little things. A lot of people always think of the great grand scheme of all of it, college athletics, but it's really bottles down to like the little things. And so he was able to help me a lot, and his experience kind of really truly helped mine. He was always like, when you're going through this recruiting process, kind of like I said earlier, you're making a 40-year decision, 50-year decision. The basketball, the football, the baseball, whatever you're going into college for, that's going to eventually stop. And so can you have connections? Can you network at a school that allows you to have a good degree, good people beside you, and a willing network to almost help you when you get out? And I think that's what Texas A&M embodies. I think the Aggie Network is something that truly is real. And so, I've had a lot of friends kind of after this go out and start looking for jobs, and the Aggie Network is truly something that is real and that I'm glad I'm a part of.
Tell us about the transition from Duke to Texas A&M and what that experience was like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a culture shock, honestly. You go into a small liberal arts school in Durham, North Carolina, and then you go to one of the biggest schools in the country. It's definitely a culture shock for you. But what I tell people when I made the transition, the first thing I noticed when I got to A&M was the family, how open everybody was that you were here, how excited people are that you're here, and the willingness to help. It's crazy how 100,000, 200,000, maybe 300,000 people can be a part of your family, and it truly feels like that, whether you play a sport or not. I think Aggies are willing to help other Aggies, and I think that's what made my transition a lot smoother. It could have been a lot harder, but I was surrounded by a lot of great people within the basketball organization, and then was able to branch out and meet some other people who had kind of been through the same thing I was going through. And so just being able to talk to them and having their support was awesome and made it such a smooth transition.
Were there any coaches or teammates that really helped that transition as well?
Yeah, we had a guy, his name was Everett Vaughn. He played here now 4 years ago. He was a walk-on for us. He was a 12th man for us, and he didn't really play. But his commitment to being a great person each and every day, his commitment to how can I be better than the day before, his, up at 5 a.m., him having energy and how he handled his off the court stuff, how he handled basketball, how he handled the classroom was somebody who, I looked up to and I was trying to follow because he did everything the right way. And so he helped a lot. And I think Coach Buzz has helped a ton. A lot of people see the outside, him coaching, him running up and down the sidelines, but he wants us to be great men. He does want us to make every shot, but he wants us to be more as better men. And so, his ability to challenge me each and every day, how can I be better? How can I not just be a better basketball player, but be a better man for later down the line in life when you're a father, when you're a grandfather, when the ball stops bouncing, maybe you're a CEO or something like that, vice president. So he's challenging us in ways that help us. And so those are two people I think that really helped me in my transition and kind of love for A&M.
It's incredible. Let's talk about off-the-court involvement for a little bit. So you've served as the SEC's Men's Basketball Leadership Council chair for the past 2 years. Can you tell our listeners about that role and what it entails?
Yeah, it's actually an awesome role, and I try to challenge all my teammates now. Try to get involved. Try to find a way to be not just a basketball player. And so, I was appointed that role. Commissioner Sankey and Missy Brown kind of appointed me that role, and it's something that I truly love. I think when you're sitting in a room full of the best coaches in the country, some people who have a lot of stuff going on and stuff, and it just really helps, and it kind of gave me a sense of confidence that, I can be in this room one day, and I'm actually in this room right now. And so for me, just being a voice not only for Texas A&M, but also being a voice for the SEC and other athletes, and talk about pivotal points like the transfer portal, NIL, and I think something that's huge in my heart is mental health. And so being able to share that on a large platform and have people truly listen and actually have a voice that really matters. Me being on that council truly has kind of changed my life in a way and allowed me to meet a lot of different people. Again, a lot of confidence.
What skills do you think you'll take away from that experience?
I think truly just confidence. I think when you're in a situation like that, you have to be confident in what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. You have to be confident in what you're studying. You have to be confident in what you're about to say, meeting and stuff like that. So I think confidence is a big thing to take from that. But I would say another thing is kind of being a sponge of knowledge. And me being somebody who always wants to seek knowledge, wants to be, a learner of life. Like, how can I learn more and more and more? And so I think from that, I just was like, how can I meet somebody and just for 2 seconds, just a quick conversation? How can I learn something from that? How can I, meet this coach? What makes this coach great? What separated this coach from all the other coaches? What allowed this coach to stay at the school for 30, 40 years? And so just being able to talk to them in just a quick conversation and gain their knowledge, and hopefully me being able to soak up the knowledge from that, I think has been a huge point in why I've wanted to go back and why I wanted to serve on the council.
Is there anyone specific you met or a connection that was made through that council that you think will benefit your future career?
I think Commissioner Sankey is somebody who I look up to and who I think is just an ultra intelligent person when it comes to not only just sports, but about life, how he handles his day-to-day and how he's able to juggle all these things at once. And I think, one of the best things he ever told me was, how can I be proactive and not reactive? I think when you're somebody who's reactive, you're always it's a quick decision, and when your emotions are high, when you're in a heated moment, you make a decision that could be a wrong decision. But if you're proactive and you're able to think things out first and prepare yourself, I think that's when you're best. And so for me, I think he was somebody who ultra good at his job, and I think he's somebody who's a life learner. And he tells me all the time he's getting better at his job, and I think he's doing the best job in the world right now as any commissioner. But he's somebody who I truly think, who I look up to, and I think is very good at his job.
Balancing the demands of being both a student and an athlete comes with challenges, right? How do you stay focused and keep your priorities straight during the season?
I always tell people it's like two languages telling the same story. They kind of feed off of each other in a way. If you're a bad student, I think you'll be a bad basketball player because you're not committed in this area to be really well. And if you're a bad basketball player, honestly, you're not going to be the best student. So I think they both kind of fit into each other, and I think they both feed off of each other. If you're handling yourself the right way off the court and you're dialed in and you're studying the right stuff and you're trying to be better as a student. I think that for sure and will carry over to you being a better athlete. I think it's just, how can I be a better student? Well, if you're a better student, you're going to probably end up being a better athlete, because the commitment that you're making to studying is the same commitment that you'll probably make when it's early in the morning. Can I get extra shots? When it's late at night, can I go get in the cold tub? And so I think they both are, they're just two different languages telling the same story. And so I think if you're committed in both of them, they'll feed off of each other.
It's like chasing excellence and pursuing excellence and being disciplined in whatever you're pursuing in your life.
100%.
Are there any resources here at Texas A&M that have impacted your student athlete experience and have helped make that a positive experience, whether it's academic support, whether it's the nutrition center, or it's sports medicine?
Yeah, I think almost all of those have impacted me in the highest level. I think first, I have to say, it's just the academic part. I think Macy, my academic advisor, has done an unbelievable job, how she's able to balance 15 young men who are just all over the place every single day because practice was hard, lift was hard, and how she's able to balance that. And her commitment to us being great has been awesome. And so I think the academic center in itself is just, it's world class. I mean, it looks beautiful, but the people inside of it are even better. They're really here. They really want you to be great. They really want you to pursue your academics to the fullest extent. And so I think, the academic center has been a huge help. And I think, secondly, the sports medicine has been awesome. My trainer, Eddie Binion, has been unbelievable. He truly doesn't get enough credit. And so I think, when we have those long practices and he's up at 4 a.m. in the morning before practice, setting up the coolers and stuff, taping ankles, and then when he's there late at night, we're all asleep and he's cleaning up the coolers and stuff and making sure everything's going well and going smooth. It's just awesome. And he truly does not get enough love. He gets enough love from us as a program, but the people on the outside, people who can't see, he does an unbelievable job. He keeps us healthy. I mean, he just is a great person to be around. I think with everybody from sports medicine to the nutrition to the academic center, I think A&M has done an unbelievable job of hiring people that truly, I think, love their job. I don't think it's a job. I shouldn't use that word. I think it's their career. They truly love their career. And so, have those people around people. And I think that feeds off into what I'm doing. If I see somebody in the nutrition center, if I see somebody in sports medicine who really, truly loves their career, it kind of feeds me. It's like, oh, this person's actually excited to be here today. It's not a burden for them to get up and come and help tutor me or be able to serve me food or be able to tape my ankle. It's not a burden for them. And so I think that A&M as in itself should be happy about that. They've hired the right people and they've done it the right way.
Mm-hmm. It's when you work with passionate people or people who feel like they are in their role, they are pursuing their calling or their passion or their path, the great things are going to happen when we all contribute and give 100% and feel passionate about what we're doing. It just makes experiences better. It makes teams work better together, and I love that. I know you had some injuries last season, and staying on the note of resources and sports medicine and staff who really pour into y'all and help y'all succeed. Tell us about, from your perspective, how you stayed positive throughout those injuries.
Yeah, so it was a pretty tough injury. I had a bad rib, and so for that, there's really not a lot of treatment you can do with that. And so for me, I was super frustrated. I felt like I was letting my team down. I felt like those guys were, we put in so much work together, and for me to be out sitting and not being in the game with them, in the fight with them, it kind of hurt me. But adversity brings out your true character. So there's either two things I was going to do. Either I was going to split off from the team and isolate myself and act like I didn't want to be there, or I was going to cheer my team on and do whatever I could to help this team win, even though I'm not in the game. And so for me, that part right there actually came from Jack Easterby, somebody who was around the team last year, who was served in the Houston Texans organization for a while. Jack, he told me that, and he was like, you kind of got you're either going to do two things. You're either going to split or you're going to help cheer this team on. And so having those three people talk to me and be like, Henry, you can still contribute to winning even though you're not in the game. And so for me, that was a huge pivotal and training point, not only in that season, kind of in my life, honestly. It's the first time I'd truly been hurt. Knock on wood, God willing, I haven't really been hurt much. And so that was the first time I was like, whoa, I got to sit out and miss games. And then when I'm sitting out, it still hurts, And so I wanted to be 100% so quick. But I think, God has a plan. And he was like, Henry, you just need to sit down and, You need to work on your other skills. How can you contribute to winning when you're not on the court? And so I think, Jack Easterby, Coach Buzz, and Eddie Bean really helped me a ton.
I like what you said there. You asked yourself, how can you contribute to success and to helping the team win when you're not on the court? And what do you think that is?
I think it's being the first person in the gym, even though you're not playing. I think it's being the first person to weights. I think it's being the loudest person in the locker room, the loudest person on the court, even though I'm not playing. And finding ways to talk to the team when I'm not in the game. Can I call a play when I'm on the bench? Can I call what defense we're in? Can I stand up and when Hayden hits a big three or Solo gets a big dunk or Andy gets a big block, can I cheer them on as loud as possible? Can I help coach? Can I remind coach of, hey, this play or that play or this defense that we should be in, can I contribute to winning in one of those ways? And so, it'll never, like Coach always talks about it, whether you play on the court or not, we want to have stats that you can't track. We want to be the first person to the floor. We want to be the loudest talking team. We want to have every single defensive time down. We want to have 10 fingers out. Can we do stuff that on the outside nobody can track? And so I think for me, once I got off the court, I was like, well, can I do stuff off the court that nobody can track? Can I talk? Can I be the best person each and every day? And so I think just communication is one of the pillars of our organization, whether you're on the court, whether it's through text, through one of the coaches, player to coach, coach to player. Can you communicate at a high level? And so I think communication was definitely one of the things I worked on and one of the things I think helped the team.
Man, I love that. That's great. Henry, can you share, let's talk about NIL a little bit. So can you share about how the ability to profit from your name, image, and likeness has impacted your student-athlete experience?
Yeah, I think it's honestly an interesting one. I talked about like my dad playing about 20, 30 years ago, and his experience is so much different than mine. But then I have cousins and uncles who played in the early 2000s all the way to about 2012, and my experience is different from them. And then I look down the line, and I'm like, well, my freshman year at Duke, there was no NIL. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, well, my freshman year to my senior year has been totally different. And so I think NIL in itself, name, image, and likeness, is beautiful. I think athletes being able to profit off of their name, being able to profit off of their brand is something that's beautiful. But I do think we need to handle it in the right way. I do think that NIL in itself is kind of just it's out in space right now. And so I think for us, I think A&M is probably the best at it. I've not been to many other schools, but I think how we've handled it, the amount of people involved in NIL has been awesome. I can go up and go to the new center and ask a question of, can I log this into Influencer Compass NIL? And so having those resources has been a huge, huge plus in being able for people to help me. And so I think NIL at A&M is beautiful. How it's being handled, the right people are involved. And so A&M has handled it awesome. But around the country, it's different, and I think a lot of people are suffering from it. It's become, a little bit of a professional type of thing. And I think A&M has found a balance of, you still have school, you still have to get your stuff done. You're able to make money, but you have to do the right things. And so I think, for ourselves and for A&M, for Texas A&M basketball, but also for A&M just as a whole, I think they've handled NIL better than anybody in the country.
Man, that's incredible to hear from a student-athlete's perspective, like how A&M specifically is approaching NIL, because every university is doing it differently, right?
Yeah.
And I agree. I think we're handling it and approaching it in a very unique and creative way. And it's so interesting to talk to student-athletes and hear about y'all's perspective, how it's impacting what you're learning through it, what you will take with you for the rest of your life from interacting through deals or opportunities. And do you think, something I want to ask you is, have NIL opportunities opened up any unexpected doors beyond just financial gain?
Yeah, I would say this is a little bit biased for me. I love to fish and hunt. And so a couple weeks ago, I was able to go out with Capital Ranch in Schoolage, Texas, and be able to go fish on a couple lakes. And it wasn't the fishing part that I really loved, and I truly love fishing. But it's the communication and the network, being able to meet someone who kind of thinks the way I think as an Aggie, who's willing to help others, who's willing to have selfless service, who's willing to be a leader, and kind of hear about his journey and, other people's journeys of being just an Aggie and how the Aggie Network goes after you leave here. And so I think also this is something that Coach Buzz and Landry Moffitt and Luke Hillen put on a donor event for NIL for basketball. And it wasn't the largest crowd. But I think the relationships that many of the guys on the team were able to gain, the network they were able to do, the communication with people who, are super involved, not in Texas A&M community, but community across the entire country. I think those are the things that NIL that nobody truly talks about. The networking and the communication that allows you to set yourself up 10 years from now, 20 years from now, even 30 years from now. I think that's the true part of NIL that is a blessing. And I think that will be better than the money that you're about to make in college. I think the relationships that you're going to make through the NIL are the ones that you need to value more and not the money.
It's good, Henry. It's good. Going back to support, and we've talked about the Linda and Dennis Clark Nutrition Center, at the Adam Season Academic and Wellness Center. Both of those facilities are at the Graham Athletic Complex. How would you describe the level of support, facilities, resources that you have access to as a student athlete? Because you've played at Duke, came from Duke. Having both of those perspectives, how would you describe the level of support and resources that you have here?
I think A&M's support is beautiful. You kind of go so fast sometimes that you forget to say thanks. I'm thankful for all the facilities. There are 1 million kids in Texas right now that would want to be in my shoes. So I think to be in a place like Texas A&M, to have the facilities that we have, to have the nutrition, the academics, and the support that we have, is truly a blessing. And I think sometimes I go so fast and I forget to say thank you. And so to all the people who've supported and who have allowed us to have all of these things, thank you. It's truly a blessing because there's so many people who want to be in your shoes right now. And so I think for almost all the athletes, I think they have a realization, whether it's when you're a freshman or if you're a fifth-year senior like me now, you kind of have a realization that, wow, I'm blessed to be here. I'm thankful to be here. And I think you have to go through it with an enormous amount of gratitude that you're so thankful for the things that you have right now. Because in a year from now, I could be playing in Europe. I could be playing in Turkey. I could be playing in the NBA. And I don't have the facilities I have. And so I think you're ultra thankful to have the facilities and the people that we have right now.
Henry, many of our listeners are 12 Man Foundation donors and season ticket holders, so the very people who help fund this type of support. And I know that you're also a 12 Man Foundation 1922 Fund Scholarship recipient. So if those people are listening right now, how would you describe how it felt to receive that scholarship opportunity?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Like I said earlier, there's so many people that want to be in my shoes. And I thank God every day for it, that I've been able to have this opportunity. It's for those people to give their support, to help us, to help me, to help better not only myself, but to help better my family. It means a ton. And I think sometimes, like I said, I go so fast. I'm trying to deal with school, trying to deal with basketball. I think I forget to say thanks. And so to have this platform and to thank them for all that they've done for the scholarship and for many of the beautiful things that we have around campus, I just want to say thank you. And so I think for us as a team and for us as athletes, it's stressful. We go through a lot of things, wins, losses, schools, failed tests, passed tests. I think for us, we have to sit back sometimes and say thank you and have gratitude and be thankful for the things that we have received and not yet received. And so I'm thankful for the scholarship and thankful for the people who've been able to help me along this journey.
Beyond your time at Texas A&M, what are your future goals?
I want to continue to play basketball for a little bit. I think that's one of the goals I made as a young individual. But, for me, I've always wanted to work in sports. I told my mom coming out of high school, I want to be an athletic director at a Power 5 school. And then I got to serve on the SEC council, and I told Commissioner Sankey I wanted to take his job. I want to be somebody who makes decisions and who helps fund and help other athletes, coaches, players, and their staffs become better. And how can I serve and how can I gain as much knowledge to when an opportunity presents itself that I'm ready for it. And so for me, I want to work within athletics. I want to be higher up in athletics, and I want to help people because I've seen all the help that I've received throughout my time here. And all the help that, has kind of pushed me to be who I am today. And so I want to be somebody who's making the decisions to help these young athletes, whether it's the transfer portal, NIL, mental health. I want to be somebody who's at the forefront, somebody who's played this sport and somebody who's seen it firsthand that's going to be able to help. And so for me, I want to be an athletic director and soon to be a commissioner one day.
That's awesome. Finally, to wrap up, Henry, how would you describe the team culture this year?
I would say, we're committed to greatness, committed to excellence, committed to make each other better, committed to be the best person each and every day. And I think that word commitment goes a long way within our program. We're committed to a great culture. We're committed to a working culture. And so for us, I think, like Coach says, we want to be right where our feet are. We're worried about how can I be better at practice tomorrow morning? How can I be the best person in lift? And so for us, I think we're right where we need to be. Everybody's confident. Everybody's working super hard. The coaches are working hard. The players are working hard. We're all super grateful, and we're working hard, and we're committed to being excellent. We've been good, but we haven't been great. And so I think that greatness is a chip on our shoulder right now that we're so committed to doing. And I think us as a whole team, we've embodied that we are committed to being great. And sometimes that comes with sacrifices. And so I think for us, we're a close-knit unit this year, and we're willing to work, and we're going to work as hard as we can so that we are great.
That is incredible. Definitely come out and support Aggie men's basketball this season. Henry, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We've enjoyed the time.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. A special shout out to our incredible podcast producer, Megan Hoffman, and to 12th Man Productions for their generous use of this studio. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to every donor and every season ticket holder for always answering the call through loyal support of Texas A&M athletics and our student athletes. We will be back soon with more content. Thanks, and gig 'em.